Right. So we discuss about the for loop, and we talk about that there are two ways of doing for loop. One is like incremental manner, and the other one is the decremental manner. Right. So the we have uh, we did a example regarding an incremental manner, as I remember. Right. So if I recap the things, so for loop works as with the forward and the a variable and a value is been assigned to it. So it will be start from that point and to the end of it, right? So this will, the first value will say when to start and the last value will say when to end, like until when it should go. So this the value of this variable. So if I take an example, so value of x will start at 1 and it will continue until 5. So there will be 5 iterations like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So be very careful when you are counting the iterations. So 0 to 4 it says, so it means starting from 0, then ending value goes until 4, right? So that means 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 5 times, 5 number of repetitions will be there, right? Yeah, just a second, people. Right, Lamai, sorry. Medical attention. 10 වෙන්න වෙලා තියෙන ළමයි ඒකයි පොඩ්ඩක් මේ දවස්වල මම පරක්කු වෙන්නේ මෙතනට එනකොට. Right. So it is the way that we talked about the iteration. So what I was telling you is like you have to be very conscious about the number of iteration or number of repetitions that you are doing. So if it says 0 to 4, there are like 5 repetitions, right? You have to figure it out. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right, okay. All right, Sharon. No worries, like you will be able to face it without a problem. Don't worry. Ek ඔයගලන්ට hardly settle වෙන එකක් නැහැ. Right? So just go and face it, right? So since we are in a special situation, so don't worry. Just go through the grade and stuff, and you will be able to like find those things out, right? Okay, so then the other way of that we are going to use the 4 is like 10 down to 5, right? So the for do loop, the second type that we can use is down to. How you are going to like change it from a bigger value to a lower value, right? So like 10 down to 5 will define when to start and when to end, and you can see the starting value is greater and ending value is lesser, right? So like 10 down to 5. So from there you have to count like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So and 5. So when you see like when you are counting from 10 to 5, there are 6 repetitions. The ඉඳලා පහට ගණන් කරොත් වාර 6ක් count වෙනවා. 10 9 8 7 6 5. Right? 10 9 8 7 6 5. Right? So there are 6 number of repetitions which is happening there. So please remember, like it's better you concentrate on these types, because they can have easy MCQs regarding these things. How many times it's going to repeat? Like ඔයගලන්ට simple scenario එකක් දීලා නැත්නම් simple code එකක් දීලා they can ask how many times this for loop is going to iterate, right? So then you have to figure out how it's going to happen, right? So yeah, and we were talking about this particular point when we end in the last lesson, and I told you to concentrate this begin and end block, because now we are going to use more than one line inside an iterative condition, right? So what we are doing is, when we need to use more than one particular line inside a structure, we use a separate begin and an end to indicate this particular code segment belongs to this particular data structure or the control structure, right? So here what they have done is, for 4 they have taken these 3 lines together, which is affecting with the 4, right? So මේ තුන් දෙනා තමයි iterate වෙන්නේ. So in previous times we didn't use this begin and end, because in all the cases we had the chance of having the execution point, or like executing line which is limited only for one line. එක line එකකට විතරයි සීමා වෙලා තිබුණේ, right? So now it goes more than one line, so we need separate begin and end, and look at the way that they have used that. So for each and every line it ends with a semicolon, right? It ends with a semicolon, and at the end it's also ending with a semicolon. So begin does not have any semicolons. Each and every line is having semicolons, and for end of that structure is having a semicolon too, right? So that is something that you need to understand when it comes to these particular things. හරි මට clear ද කියලා කියන්න like for loop එකේ මෙහෙම එක statement එකකට වඩා එනකොට begin එකයි end එකයි පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕන කියන point එක. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. How about others? Right, great. Okay. So next what we are going to do is, yeah, people just confirm me whether we have write something using for. Like I remember we have done the done that particular program with for, as I remember. Before එක අපේ flow chart එකක දෙයක් මුකුත් we didn't discuss, right? Right, let me take the whiteboard of yours. And yeah, here's the whiteboard. Okay, so we have done with all the selection parts, right? So we are going to do an iteration, right? So this is the place that you are going to begin the iteration. Right. So there we have used, if you can remember the example that we have used is like taking a name and displaying a name like for 5 times, 10 names we were talking about, like for 10 names, right? So 10 times we have to take the name and we have to display it, right? People, just a second, I'm getting a call from the hospital. Right. So what are we going to do now is we are going to use the for loop, right, in the way like in the way that it shows how it going to happen, right? So first I'm going to like refer the pseudocode that we have drawn, like we have written, right? So what we have done in here is like this is what we have done, right? So begin count equals 0. We use a while structure, while count less than 10, then enter a name, display the name, count equals count plus 1, and end while is there. So here what they have used is the while loop, right? So now what we are going to do with the help of for, right? And there is a connection in between these two. Then අපි while එක ඊළඟට තියෙන while structure එක, when we are get to know about the while structure, it is the same thing that we are going to write. මේ ලියලා තියෙන pseudo code එකටම parallel code එකක් තමයි while එකෙන් ලියන්නේ. But when it comes to the for, it's going to be a little change, right? I'll show you the difference, right? So I'm going to start the program, and I'm going to give some name. Hold on, it's better I take the test program thing. Then it will be easy for me. Okay. All right, so I'm getting rid of this thing. Yeah, my program name is test program, test prog, and input output. And I'm going to initialize a variable which is called name is a reserved word. Let's say f name, and its type is going to be a string. Why I'm using the string? Because we use string data type to take a text kind of things, right? Or to take the characters, right? Okay, then what we are going to do is we are going to start the begin and end, right? So this begin and end will give us the idea about the structure or like the executing code. So now I'm going to map this with the pseudocode, right? So this is my pseudocode, and it says count equals 0. Now I want you to concentrate on this particular thing. Now when it comes to the for, right? So you can see the counting variable is defines here, right? In for defines here, then the ending point is defines here. So if you take your pseudocode, now we use count to count 10 number of names. So this count, this particular count is acting like this in the for loop. So the initialization part happens inside the for loop. That is something we have to figure out and we have to concentrate. And then the ending point is there as well, right? So in the pseudocode, what we have done is we have initialized the count equals 0. So that is the first part of the for. And then we have given count should be less than 10. So that means the count will be count from 0 to 10. Count equal count plus කියන කෙනාගෙන් වෙන්නේ මේ දෙක අරගත්තයින් පස්සේ එකකින් වැඩි වෙන එක. So likewise it will go until 10. When the count become 10, the iteration will not happen. So for each iteration, count will increase by 1. So starting point is here, ending point indicates here, incrementing indicates here. තැන් තුනක තියෙන්නේ. Starting point here, the limitation or the maximum limit is here, and the incrementing part is with this particular statement. So all three things are happens inside this particular statement in for. For එක ඇතුලේ මේ කියන එකෙන් කියනවා start කරන්නේ කොතනින්ද? Count should be start by 1. Then to 10. So it indicates when to stop. Then 1 to 10 means it recognizes 1 by 1. Right? Okay, so let's try to mix it to this particular place. Let me see whether we can get rid of this. How we can get rid of this. Okay. It seems not. Yeah, so here we go. I'm starting from 4, right? And I'm using count, and I'm starting count from 1, and I'm saying it goes to, yeah, hold on. Here we are starting from 0, and I'm saying it to goes until 9, because why I use 9? We need this iteration, we need this 4 to iterate 10 times, repeat 10 times, right? So that is why we use 0 and less than 10. So that means it actually goes until 9. So we know when we are using this range for 4, 0 to 9 means 10 repetitions can happen, right? So then so according to the and I have to define the count variable as well, right? So count will be an integer, right? So according to the 4, we got 2 things to do. One is what we need, we have a right ln, and what we are going to do is we are asking to enter a name, right? Then we have to read this name into the variable of fname, right? Then we have to display what we have read in, or like අපි කියවගත්තේ මොකද්ද, read කරගත්තේ මොකද්ද කියන එක. So for that I'm using another right ln, right? Then I'm saying the name you have entered is Then I'm putting a comma and say f name, right? So now there is a problem. I need these three things to be inside the for. So to do that, we need a separate begin and end on behalf of for. So I'm taking these three things cut from over here. Then I'm putting it right over here. Right. So we have for loop, right? And we missed something in the for name. We should have do word right over here. Right? For count 0 to 9, do. Then inside the for, we got these three things and we end. So in the pseudocode, as we discussed, initialization part has happened in here. Maximum number is defined here. Iteration will define by how it's increased. Right?
So didn't we do this last week?
The enter name thing. Did we do the enter name thing?
So we did something with like we took the variable as num and like the same thing, except the
We
count was 1 to 10.
yeah. So like we did this particular example as I remember. Isn't it like hold on, what was the example we were yeah, we did this particular thing. මේක ගත්තා නේද? මේක අපි කරා. මේක කළා මට ඔයගලන්ට පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ like these three things should be inside the begin and end කියන එක.
Ah,
So
yes.
now we are doing the like the example of ours. අපි පොතේ ලියාගෙන තියෙන example එක. අපි කරපු pseudo codes වල. Right? So that is what we are doing now. Right? So when I'm running this, it is asking for a name. So I'm giving someone. Ah, yes, there will be a problem because I didn't have the reader lens. So reader lens should be here. Someone, yeah, sometimes it needs two reader lens. So someone, yeah, so we are getting a problem. Why? Once we enter the name someone, the name you have entered is someone is okay. Then enter a name, the name you have entered. So the same thing repeats. Why it is happening here? Yes. Okay, what comes to that particular thing? Let me change this to a read ln and see whether it works. Oh, yes. Yeah, so now you can see it is asking the name again and again.
So 2 lines are coming at once.
Yeah, so like 2 line means like once I now see what happens when I'm giving a name. So I'm giving Sam over here. So it will show the name you have entered is Sam, then ask for another name. So this particular line will be coming and then it will be asked for the other name, right? So Rebecca, Nicole, I think this is going to be the last one. Sita. No. Yeah, that's going to be the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. So I'm just I was entering this thing without looking at the what we call the, there is no, it is not asking for a name, so I just typed it blindly. So this is the place it enters. So we entered Sita 1, Nimal 2, Nihal 3, Rebecca 4, Sam 5. Let's see what else is there. John 6, Lucky 7, Rebecca 8, Sunil 9, and Saman is the 10th. So we have entered 10 names and it is displaying the 10 names. So it works. Saran, about your question, how to leave space between two sentences? Like two sentences means like, are you talking about the name you have entered is Rekha, then space, like leave a line, and then you need enter a name. Is that what you want? Okay. So we can modify this with another right ln, right? So like if
And if you put right for the last line, it would be much like then like 2 lines won't come at first.
but there will be a problem Menul, right ලිව්වොත් ඒ කියන්නේ අර නම කෙලින්ම තව එකක් එනවා, right? So
So then 2 lines come at first. Then when you read that name and then
yeah, just see what happens. So when I'm running it, so enter a name, I'm giving someone, I press enter. Yeah, this is what happens. The name you have entered is someone, so enter a name part, it is just starting from there, right? So
is there any way to like put no, no then if you put right ln, like is
yeah,
there any way to put like
yeah,
one line at a time for one enter?
we can simply have another right ln menu, I think. So here I use another right ln. So let's see whether it's work. So this right ln will just move the cursor to the next line. So nothing is there to be written, right? So it's just move the line cursor line down. So someone, yeah, like this, right? So we need the one like after the next right ln එකෙන් අපි දාලා තියෙන තැන වැරදි. Yeah, so it's better we put it right after this, right? So if you run this, so I enter someone, yeah, the name you have entered someone, enter a name. So Nimal, the name you have entered is Nimal, enter a name. So it goes like that.
So I mean like the name you have entered and enter name both comes together. Like for one.
Yeah. Or like if you need to say, if you need to take like එක enter එකක් එබුවම we see the output, then the other enter is pressed, then you need to take the question, then it's better you put a read ln නේද? එහෙම වුණාම මේගොල්ලෝ ඒක කරයි කියලා මට හිතෙනවා. If you put a read ln and yeah, let's see whether this work. So someone enter, yes, then another enter will give you the one, then Nimal enter, another enter will give you the other one. So it's the matter of read ln's and the write ln's, right? So we can figure things out. Okay, people, did you get this? Right? ඔගොල්ලෝ match කරගන්න ඕන තැන තමයි ඔගලන්ගේ pseudocode එක. You have the pseudocode on your book now, right? So AK 3 places, the condition, the count equals 0 and count equals count plus 1 happens inside the for loop all together, right? So if it happens like that, so you can like what, minimize the code that you are going to write. Okay, so write this thing down, and next, hold on, I need to check what is the other example that we talk about, and I need to get sure whether it is okay for you to write the other one. Let me see. This 1 to 10 thing, we really did that, right? It is the example in your book as well. So
can't we use like one begin and end?
didn't get you, Minu.
So like instead of using two pairs of begin and ends, can we use one pair of? Because
No, it
that
won't be. It won't be like saying like without using these two. You're asking about just using just one begin and end. Can't we write it? That's what you're asking, right?
yes.
No, because this begin and end indicates these lines are belongs to the for. If this begin and end is not there, then the Pascal will consider only this line is belongs to the for. Right? So we won't be able to, like Pascal won't be able to recognize what belongs to for. That is why we are using begin and end couple when there is like more than one line in a for loop or any control structure. If එක line එකකට වඩා යනවා නම්, so you have to use that. Right? Okay, so I want you to copy this down, right? I'll be back in a minute. And it's better you try, not the ninth one. Ninth one is there in the book, right? අපි ගිය සතියේත් මේකම තමයි type කරලා බැලුවද question number 9. I want you to try question number, hold on, given value one at a time. Okay. Yeah. The problem is you won't be able to try the for loop for 10 and 11. It is going to be do it while. Yeah, 10, 11. Yeah. Try the 11th question. 11th question will be able to write using the for. Question number 11, right? This is the question number 11. And it's better you try it with the for loop, right? So for the moment, I'll put the code. You just write it down. So within a minute, I'm going to change. And I'll be right back, people. Just give me 1 minute. Come here. I said some. Come here. Come. Beautiful. Right. So this is the one you need to try. The question number 11. Right. So we have done so many adjustments during that. Right. And the pseudocode is right over here. This particular one. Right, so you have to understand the pattern. So here it has another count equals 0 thing, and count is checking over here, and count is getting increased. So those three can be put into a for loop. Others are going to stay as it is. Right, okay, give it a try. I'm doing this within, yeah, now it's 4:23, 4:24. Yeah, I'll do it by 4:30. So if you're facing hard to maintain it, just let me know, right? I'll assist. And now you have to realize, like, we can't use the for loop for every iteration. මේ the count එකක් තියෙනවා නම් විතරයි අපිට for loop එකක් පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. Right, but the next structure that you are going to learn, which is the while, they don't have any restrictions. You can write any of the iterations using the while. Right. Does anyone need more time? Okay, so it seems everyone is done. So let's carry out this thing. Right, so what we are going to do is we are going to make the code of this particular pseudo code and the flow chart. This says draw a flow chart to calculate total of 5 numbers and display given by the user one at a time. Right, so it's easy. So you need to take 5 numbers from the user and you have to add it, and then you have to show it the total, right? So I will be taking my program name will be this. So program test prog will be my program name. Input output will be there within brackets, so semicolon. So var f name. I really don't need something called f name, right? So I'm get rid of that. So I use count and total integer values. So count is for count the numbers. So because we are taking only 5 numbers, so we have to count number of numbers, and total is to make the total. So I'm going to have the count like we use it in the pseudocode. So we start count in 0, total in 0, right? So I can say count from 0 to 4 because I need 5 countings. And before I begin the 4, I need to initialize a value for total. So total is assigned with a 0, right? So then I'm asking for a value, enter a value, right? Right, so I will ask for a value, then I will read that value. I'll read that value. Yeah, I need to read that value for some variable neda. අපිට ඒකත් define කරගන්න වෙනවා, otherwise we won't be able to add it up to the total. So I will take val as the variable name, and I'm defining val over here as well, right? So I will take a value from the user and I'm reading that value to this particular thing, right? I better use read ln, right? And then I need to update the total. So total colon equals total plus val, right? So that is what has happened in the pseudocode neither. So they have count is 0, total is 0. So while count not equal 5, then having a number and count will be updated by 1 and total will be updated with the number. So the same thing goes here. So count increment in initialization part has happened here, and we ask for a value. So we read it into a variable called val, and that particular val will added with the total, right? And then counter will increase, then these things will happen again, right? So let's run this and see. So they're asking for a value, so I'm giving 10. Asking for another value, I'm giving 20, then 30, 40, and I will give 50. So now 5 values are given. Yeah. So nothing is coming as an output. Why? Yes, Saran, very good. We missed the display total thing. So here we are going to say the display total thing. So displaying the total should happen after what? After the iteration, once we done the total, right? Once we done with the entire totaling process. So it's after the for loop, like out of the for loop. So we write ln. So write ln. I'm going to say total of the entered values are these. Oh yeah, values are. Then I'm going to show total. Right, so here I run it again. And I'm giving 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Once I enter, it says total of the entered values are 150. So we can see here, it is 150. So once we press enter, it ends. Okay, so yeah, people confirm me whether you got that. Yes, everyone? Any doubts regarding that? Or any unclear places?
The one reading is enough, right?
Yeah. It seems. My දෙකක් දැමේ සමහර වෙලාවට I don't know what's the reason. Sometimes they require two pre-delens, right? Yes, okay, Saran. How about others? Methika, Onetra, Ovin, how about you guys? Okay, right, okay. All right, so you can do any amendments or like any corrections if you got, right? Then after we are going to talk about the while do structure, right? Which is the most common structure. And I give you 1 minute to do any necessary arrangements. Okay, so let's move to the do while structure. I'm sorry, while do structure or while do loop. So now while do is very easy for you to understand because we have done so many examples using the while structure. So it's the same thing, right? So ඔයගලන්ට pseudocode එකක් දීලා ඒක Pascal
Like
වලින්
in an
ලියන්න.
exam, like do they specifically say to write like use for do or while do?
No, not really, not really, right? So most of the time, you have to be aware of like if they give something for you to like fill the blanks kind of things. So you have to figure out what kind of a structure that they have used. Either it is the for or the while, right? So when it comes to the while do, it is very easy. The first thing you have to use while keyword, then the condition, then the do word, then you have to say what to be repeat. And remember, the same rule applies here. If the while contains more than one line to execute, you need a separate begin and end block to indicate which lines are belongs to the while structure, right? So you have to be very conscious when you are doing that. So in both the examples over here, they haven't used a begin and end because it is given like while is just having only one statement for it. So they don't need a begin and end structure, right? So I'll go to the repeat until structure in the very same time, right? Because repeat until is something opposite to while loop, right? So in the while loop, they take the condition right over here at the beginning. Then the things will be written inside which belongs to the while. So this line will get executed. This line will get executed only if this condition is true. මෙතන ලියලා තියෙන condition එක true වෙනවා නම් විතරයි these things are going to be executed. When it comes to the repeat until, now repeat until structure is like this, and you can see that condition is at the bottom, not at the top. So Pascal is executing things line by line. So count will equals 1. Then it reads repeat. So then it will identify, okay, I'm going to find an iterative structure. Then it will execute this line. Then it will execute the next line. Then it will only consider the condition, right? So condition is checked at the last point of the structure. So for that reason, this repeat until structure allows these lines to be executed at least once. එක සැරයක් හරි execute වෙන්න දෙනවා. At least එක සැරයක් හරි execute වෙන්න දෙනවා. Right? මොකද මේ condition එක අන්තිමට check වෙන්න නිසා. So for the very first time, conditions will be checked after these things are executed. But when it comes to the while, if this condition is false at the very first time, it won't go for these lines. So while එකෙන් අපිට පුළුවන් while loop එක ඇතුළට කිසිසේත්ම නොයන විදිහට program එක plan කරන්න. But with the repeat until, it always execute at least one time. Right? And again, there is a specialty. I told you this is the complete opposite of the while. And The reason why that I have using this is now when they use repeat until, the condition should be false, to execute the body, or like to execute the things inside the repeat until structure, right? So here it says repeat, write ln Pascal. So it is asking to write Pascal word on the screen, then count will be increment by 1. So look at the condition. Condition is asking whether count is larger than 5. So count at the initial point, count is 0. Once it is increment from here, count will become 1, right? Then once it is checked here, this is false. Count larger than 5, it is false. If it is false, then this will be executed again. So count will become 2. Then check the condition. It is false still. So these two happens again. So count will become 3. Check the condition, still false. This happens. Count will become 4. Check the condition. This will happens. And still the condition is false. And this will happen. Count is 5. Once the count is 5, then when you are checking this thing, count is not larger than 5. Now count is equals to 5. Right? So still the condition is false. Like when count is 5 over here, this happens like 5 larger than 5. So all you have to figure out is whether the condition is true or false. If it is false, it's going to repeat. If it is true, it's going to stop. Right? Okay. So did you got the difference in between while and repeat until? Right? Is it clear, people? Confirm?
Yes.
Right, okay. All right, how about others? Right, great. Okay. So I'm going to write the very same program which is in the example by using while. So we have nothing to change. Right, we have nothing to change. We just need to write it as we wrote it to the as the pseudocode, right? So it's the same program, the example. What was the example? So the example that we use is like we take 5 numbers and displace it. So this is going to be the pseudocode using while, and the program is going to be very same. Instead of this end while is not there and then is not there, right? So here we go. I'm going to take the same program name, program, test program. So input output will be there. And here I need count variable. And the fname variable like I used before. It's a string. Right. Then I'm going to say count is equal to 0. Now, since we are not using 4, right? Since we are not using 4, we have to initialize the count separately. Then we can use while. While we can say count less than 5. then do, down to do, right? So what we are going to do is we ask for a number. So write ln, not the number, a name, enter a name. And I have to read that name, variable called fname. Then I'm going to display it. Write ln, name you have entered is yes. 7, I don't think so. Then won't work. Then no. It says see, do expected but then found. So we can't go for then. It's the do.
So like the pseudocode for while and the while do loop is like the same in the past.
Very same, except we don't have then keyword and we don't have end while thing. And now here, now I don't have any begin and ends over here. Like while got 3 things, while like but I don't have any begin and ends, so I'm going to execute. Let's see whether it's work as we expected. See what happens. This is called a never ending loop. Enter name thing is repeating, still it is printing, right? So we need a begin and end. Right, and you can execute this now. So it is asking for a name, I'm giving Saman. So the same thing happens. Your name have entered is Saman, enter another name, right? So Nimal, Sunil, Kamal, Sita, Nihal. Yeah, hold on. I have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Okay. Yes. People, tell me why this is happening. It's not stopping. It keep asking for a name. Why it is stopped? I think someone, yes, sir, well done. Count equals count plus 1 is not inside this. So count will be 0 always. Make a count increment. So count will be 0 forever. So this will be true forever. Right?
Count plus 1 should.
Yeah, so there should be count.
So shouldn't that be like up?
Doesn't matter. Like within the ඔයාගේ name එක ඉල්ලගත්තයින් පස්සේ count එකකින් වැඩි වෙන එකනේ. So like after, much better if you write it like after these 2 lines, much better, but it won't affect. Okay, let's write and see. So Saman, Kamal, Sita, 5 numbers are given. Yeah, program is end. Okay, so this is the way that you are going to write the same pseudocode converted into Pascal
So
using
what
the
happens if
while.
we don't do the assignment mark for count like for the increment.
Like here,
Yeah,
if I cut it down, it's going to say an illegal expression, because what we are doing is, Minul, we increase the count by 1, and that value is assigning to count. So assigning, it is a must that you have the colon.
I thought like if there was the equation, then like the
No,
after
no.
getting the value only, then
Yeah, no, no. It should be a assignment, right? Always, right? Okay, people. So you can have this pseudocode and have this Pascal code, and you will try the Pascal code for the next example. Next example means the may ලියන්නේ මගේ example එකටනේ. So the question number 9. You can do the Pascal code for the question number 9 then after, right? Okay, let's do it quickly. Here's the code. Saran, about your question, what will happen if we didn't write count equals 0 at first? So like, what is your suggestion? Like, omitting it out? ලියන්න නැතුව ඉන්න එකද Saran හිතන්නේ? Then it will be a problem, Saran. If we don't have this statement, first thing, this condition will be having a problem because you don't have anything to compare with 5. Then අපි කියනවානේ count එක පහට අඩුද කියලා බලන්න කියලා. So if the program does not know what's the value initially, first thing, this won't be able to figure out. And secondly, this statement can't be updated. Got it, Saran?
so initialization and incrementation is like mostly used in Pascal, right? Like in Python, they do it.
Yeah, Python, like Python, we really don't do this thing, right? So we just blindly use a variable and give it a value. So it is being initialized and implemented. Right. So people just write this, and if you can just stay for another 5 more minutes, like then we can discuss the other one as well, right? So if you are done with this, go for question number 9, right? And write the Pascal code, right? Like it will be very easy since you are given the pseudocode, right? But remember, if you are given the flow chart and asked to write the Pascal code straight away, remember the trick that we on Etra. It's okay, Dua. So you can leave, Dua, no problem. It's better you watch the very last part from the video, Dua, no problem, right? And people, it's better you do something very carefully when you are asked to write a Pascal code using a flowchart, right? Because like in flowchart, the iteration in this flowchart, iteration happens on the no path. මතකනේ අපි ඒතර කරපු දේ අපි සූඩු කෝඩ් එක ලියනකොටත් ඕක කරා. Condition එකේ complete opposite එකක් පාවිච්චි කරේ with the while. Remember that, right? Okay, so no worries. You just try the question number 9 at home using the while, right? Using the while as well as the repeat until, right? පොඩ්ඩක් හිතලා බලන්න කොහොමද ඒක කරන්න කියලා. මම ඊළඟ දවසේ දේවල් දෙකම කරලා පෙන්නන්නම්, right? So try it using the while and using the repeat until, right? Both the structures, right? So give it a try. We are going to figure that out. And people, we are just coming to an end of the Pascal. So like nested control structure, you have already known about that. So I'm just introducing these things to you. Like selection can be in the repetition and repetition can be in the selection. We are not going to go for codings. And we are left with arrays and the functions and the procedures, right? So then we are done with the Pascal.
One whole term went for this programming.
Yes. So
But
yeah.
they ask like small questions.
Yes. But yeah, I agree with you, Minu. But still, like it's good you get to know about these things, especially when you are doing the if you are planning to do the ICT 4A. Right. Okay, people. So I'm going to end the session from this point, right? So
Okay.
try the things from while loop and the repeat until loop, right? I'm going to show it to you by next week, right? So thank you very much, people. Okay. Have a nice weekend, right?